speed in the race, and it opens up for the speed horses. Wonder Where Craig is, I think, is going to lead them early, but ultimately, I think Strong Constitution pulls the upset here.
Okay, I'm not going to be so brave. I'll go with Dr. Shivel to make amends for his Breeders' Cup near miss. It's Dubai Golden Shaheen up next.
Good effort now ready. Mangia, Mabardle. Switzerland, Eastern World. So 4 left to load. Up goes Switzerland. Eastern World will be the next one. Bringing up Everfast. Mabardle will be the last one for the 2022 Dubai Golden Shaheen, sponsored by Atlantis Dubai for a purse of $2 million. Mabardle joins the lineup. Bring the clock needs to quieten down. They all set. And they're off. And they got away to a good start. Ulteric lead at all costs, gets there pretty comfortably. Drain the clock on his back in second. Now there's pace on the outside. Wonder Where Craig is, goes up handy. Mangia's rides in the Eastern World, the maroon colours. Good effort, just off than the yellow jacket, but is covering a bit of ground. Mabardle from the deepest draw, committed, but is also committed off the course. Then comes Switzerland, couple of lengths away to Dr. Shivel, the red colours, racing behind midfield. 2-3 lengths back to Everfast, Strong Constitution, Chain of Love and Red Lizelle. The Japanese horses are well back, 600 metres out, and the leader has drained the clock, got the lead as Ulteric conceded. Then comes Wonder Where Craig is, pink cap. Switzerland goes through the gears quite nicely. Then comes Mangia towards the inside. Eastern World, good effort. Mabardle's towards the outside, but it's drained the clock in the lead. Opened up by a length and a half. Switzerland is running his socks off in second. Now first, Switzerland picks up the lead. Drain the clock, needs to find an answer. Red Lizelle, Chain of Love doing their best work late towards the outside. Switzerland in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. The grand old game 8-year-old Switzerland wins. Second goes the way of Red Lizelle, Dr. Shivel third. Then came Chain of Love, Eastern World, Strong Constitution, Everfast. Then came Drain the Clock. Further back to Mangia, Wonder Where Craig is, Ulteric, Mabardle, and then came Good Effort.
What's a year for Bhupat Seema? Not only is he going to win the Trainers' Championship, he has won his first Group 1 with Switzerland. What a performance from this horse, beating 2 American Grade 1 winners. Tigo Shea, first ever Group 1 win for him on a thoroughbred, a home victory. Superb for all connected with Zabeel Stables.
Switzerland was a horse with a promising career that started in the barn of Chad Brown. He then went to Steve Asmussen. He came here. He's been all over the world. And finally, Switzerland has reclaimed the glory that everybody thought when he was a 2-year-old, he was going to win these big races. And he got the job done today. And I mean, all the credit in the world to these connections. They said the scope was so dirty in Saudi. They said, throw that race out. We had a 3-race campaign. This was our goal. We want to win this race.
I'm guessing that stall's handler, I don't know if that's Heinz Runga, who
it looks like him, yeah,
rides the horse every day. Yeah, they are over the moon with this. This will mean an awful lot to Tiger. He's about to be crowned champion jockey for a 10th time in the UAE, but he would probably trade most of those for this. It really is huge for our local connections here. Available at a pretty big price, 28-1 this morning. Well done if you found that. And the interesting thing about Switzerland, the start of the year he won, as we said, so well. The guy who'd sprint. And I said to Bhupat, why now? Like, why is the horse? And he said, we just know more about him. He hasn't been in the yard all that long. We've just figured him out, and we figured out what he likes and what he doesn't like. And obviously, we all thought there was a freshness angle with him that needed to be exploited. Not the case.
No, I mean, he's shown an affinity for this track, and there's something to be said for horses that like Maidan. We see horses sometimes win back-to-back years. Switzerland has had a lot of success on this Maidan surface, and he showed it again today. Look, we thought speed had to be good. He came from off of it. He came wide. It didn't make a difference. He was always traveling like a winner. And how about that for Tigo Shea?
Yeah, it might delay Richie Mullen, who's going to be our guest, getting to us, because he is best mates with Tiger and will want to congratulate him. And it really is huge. He'll be over the moon. He's had success on this card before with the Kahela Classic, of course, a couple of times, and only really been Zabeel's first jockey this season. The horse has just gone past them, like they're standing still, and they did close. And poor Red Lizelle, second for the second year in a row. How's your luck?
Just left himself just too much to do. That was what I was afraid of. Look, this race was 2 seconds slower than the race last year, and they went 111. They didn't go super fast early. The American horses started backing up out of it, and just Red Lizelle had just too much left to do.
I wonder where Craig is. Didn't finish in the top 6. I thought he had a super chance standing for home.
No, listen, he was in the right spot where you wanted to be, just kind of caught up to him, and it's not easy to travel from America and come here and put forth your best effort.
Third was Dr. Scheibel. That was good. Jane and Love, lovely mare. She's finished 4th. Eastern World 5th. They'll be over the moon with that. A horse that they thought might end up in the Godolphin Mile. He was effectively a Godolphin cast-off, and Thunder Snow's little brother shows up on the big night like his older sibling did twice, of course, 3 times in fact.
And those connections were busy too at the Breeze Up sale. They bought 2 or 3 very high-priced lots. So, maybe the Ahmed bin Harmash lot will really start to pick up with some nice horses next year.
This will mean an awful lot for Tiger O'Shea, especially after the Godolphin Mile when he ended up easing Alnaford. If you'd asked him before, what's your best chance for winner, he'd have said Alnaford. And he works so hard. I've an extra level of respect for him, really, because he's his own agent. Most of our jockeys here in the UAE have an agent. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The agents do a tremendous job. He does it all himself. We have Abdullah Muammar and Muammar Abdullah, the sort of racing management father and son team with this horse, who of course is owned by His Highness Sheikh Rashid bin Humaid Al Nuaimi. And Abdullah on the right is the most knowledgeable guy. He really is fantastic, and they're pretty hands-on, this racing management team.
They don't sleep either. I mean, I've been on the phone with them every night, like 2:30 in the morning in America, trying to figure out what to do. They wanted to win this race in the worst way. There was 3 or 4 offers that they thought about making for other horses. Ultimately, they stayed firm and said Switzerland can do it. We don't need to buy another horse for ourselves.
It's wonderful for, as I mentioned, Sheikh Rashid, who's had a lot of quality horses, really. He doesn't mess around with the handicappers so much. He spends a lot of money, as you mentioned, and Switzerland wouldn't have come cheap. And the gelding would have been quite a big decision to make. There is Sheikh Rashid. He always matches his Kandura to his silks, which is brilliant. And I was lucky enough to visit his farm in Ajman, the most gorgeous facility. And even the farm is black and that lovely sort of bronzy colour. Quite amazing to match your architecture to your racing silks, or maybe the racing silks will match to the architecture.
And a very popular win here.
Tiger is hugely popular. He's been coming over to the UAE since the early 2000s. And I say he works so hard. He rides every morning for either Ernst or Tell or Bupat Seemar, and one morning I think he rode 24 horses for Ernst. So he's really geeing up the crowd as he returns on Switzerland, and this will mean an awful lot to everyone connected with this horse. He's really getting the crowd going. I say this is the best reception we've had so far.
Oh, not even close. And a case of you people were excited. The Japanese winners have been excited, but this is a whole new level right here. This is the loudest this place has been since back in 2019.
That's fantastic. 27th start, as we said, for Switzerland, the son of Speightstown. Second win for the yard, of course, in this Dubai Golden Shaheen, after the legend that is Reynaldo the Wizard. There's Bupa, his wife Caroline. Does a lot of the riding out in the morning. She's a super rider. She used to be a jockey, in fact. And a lot of the credit, I'm sure, will also be given by the yard to Satish Seemar, who handed over the licence to Bupa earlier on this season. And obviously he put the infrastructure in place, so it would be wrong of us not to mention him. Shouldn't have any problems for an interview here. Tiger always been very helpful to us on the channel. I couldn't be more happy for him, really. They all work hard, our jockeys, but he really does. And this horse, as we mentioned, he's always been a kind of high-profile horse, hasn't he? From early on in his career, he was campaigned, as you said, by Steve Asmussen in the States. Initially cost $170,000 at Keeneland, went back to Keeneland for $175,000, then sold for $500,000 at Fasig Tipton back in 2016.
No, they were head over heels in love with him, and I think he ran second, like 4 or 5 starts early on in his career. He just couldn't break his maiden, and it was getting kind of frustrating because he was a beautiful, gorgeous horse. And when the RRR bought him, actually, he ran with Steve Asmussen still, and then he ended up heading out this way, and it looked like he had kind of gone off form a little bit, but the Seemar barn is really, Zabeel has really kind of brought him back around. And again, I think a brilliant campaign by the racing manager deciding to just go with the 3 runs this year, and that's what really won him the race.
There'll be nothing amiss with the weigh-in, let's hope, so we can hear from Tig shortly. He'll speak to Mikey.
All right, Tig, that was phenomenal. The old Switzerland came back. When did you know during the race that he was going to get there?
Look, as you quite rightly weighed up on TV, there was a lot of speed on, and this horse excels off a true run race, you know. And look, we were the outsider today, and I just said to Boo, but let's ride him accordingly. There's no point putting him in the race and getting in a speed duel. Just ride him like we did when we won the Algarhood, and if he shows that turn of foot, at least we'll run home and be very, very competitive. So thankfully it all worked, and he's a horse that grew in confidence as the race went on. They were starting to stop and flounder, and he was coming harder on the bridle, so it was fantastic.
And it seemed that, he brushed off the bad experience in Saudi pretty nicely. He's a class horse.
Yeah, he came back with a dirty scope, and he was drawn bad there, so unfortunately I couldn't go and ride him. But listen, he's come back better than ever, and obviously without stating the obvious, I'd say that's a career best.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
Tig's sons Dara and Aaron there joining him in the walk back there. Many thanks to him for chatting to Mike. He's doing a great job getting those post-race interviews, because believe you me, there's about 10 crews trying to do it. It's just the way he goes past them here.
It's the winning move. I mean, Tig had to know he was on so much horse and loaded with so much that as the two front runners drained the clock and Wanderer Craigs began to tire, he just shifted out just a little bit and took that momentum to the front, and then just didn't look back. And as Tig knows, being a local rider over here, just take one quick peek at that big screen. Make sure you have enough to hold on to the wire.
He's one jockey who just never, most of them don't stop riding, it's not something they do, but he will never stop. You'll see him on a 100-to-1 shot, and he's kicking away and really working hard, and that means an awful lot to him. He's not one for his big celebrations either, and that will be a huge moment in his career. He's had Royal Ascot winners, he's had Glorious Goodwood winners, of course he's had the Group 1 success, as we mentioned, on the Purebred Arabians, but a Group 1 win on the biggest night of all for all of us who live here in Dubai, as Tig does for 6 months of every year. That photo will be framed and up in the O'Shea household by tomorrow, I imagine. I hope that Brittany Russell will have enjoyed her Dubai experience. I think her horse has run well, and she will have learned and be able to come back in the future, perhaps.
Yeah, I think all the Americans here, like I said, it seemed like they were a little bit up against it, perhaps because of how they had traveled and how they came over here. And they all showed up. They ran on the night. You learned so much from the first. I can't tell you how much I learned from the first time to the second time, and it'll help for all them. I don't think this will be the last time we see Brittany Russell here. She's a woman with a really bright future.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be great to have her back in the future. Indeed, the same goes to connections of Train the Clock, Safi Joseph and Dr. Scheivel. Mark Glatt, they brought over some very nice horses, but beaten by Switzerland. We're going to say goodbye to you, Chad, for the moment. Thank you. And you're going to go off and watch the turf races from somewhere else and rejoin us for the World Cup.
I can't wait for the World Cup. Listen, it's been a night of surprises, but the World Cup, I think, will be a little bit more formful than what we've seen so far tonight.
It's not been an easy one to pick the winners, certainly. We can welcome an all-new cast here onto the stage, because Richie Mullen is with us, and I did think it might take you a while to get to us. I thought it might take you a while to get to us, Richie, because I know you will have wanted to congratulate Tig. Winning the race that you did a few years ago, you obviously taught him all he knows.
I just saw him there. It's a great result. I'm delighted for him, because that's the one, although he's had World Cup night winners, obviously 2 in the Cahaler and Secret Ambition last year. That Group 1's always eluded him, and it's quite funny because Trotter Nichols has always given him a bit of stick over it, but yeah, it's great for him, and yeah, a race that I won as well, so it's a great one, and you can see him getting interviewed there on the big screen. And it's 2 young kids, Dara and Aaron, you know, they're his biggest supporters, and obviously for Poopert as well, a race that obviously Satish and him won with Ronaldo as well, so yeah, great result, and it's always nice when the home team have a winner at this, you know, it's so hard on this night. So yeah, great all-round feel-good factor about it.
A lot of feel-good factor about it, certainly. Edgar Byrne has joined us as well. Great to have you with us, Edgar. And it's been a night of a few surprises so far, I think it's fair to say.
It has, a few surprises. Well, I suppose the Japanese, given that I thought we were going to have the big Japanese horses coming later on, I think it was a surprise that they've been so dominant. But look, there's been a little bit of Irish flavour too. I see you're wearing the Irish green, Laura, which is very good. You brought the look with it. And a case of you was certainly a proud moment for us. I was at the table at the draw the other night with Ado McGuinness, and when 16 came up, we all sort of put our hands on our heads and went, oh, you know, no one wanted 16. Ado calmly turned around and went, smiled, that'll do me, he said. Horses in top form, and he loved them. And I'm going to claim, Richie, I'm going to claim the Tig O'Shea one. An old pal of mine from the Curragh when he served his time with Mick Halford, so go back a long way with Tig. And yeah, I'm going to claim a little bit Irish in that last winner. So I'm going to call it a 1.5 tonight for the Irish.
Well, it's not like the Irish had loads of runners either. You were pretty light.
Oh, I think is that, you know, maybe some in the earlier races, in the cup race maybe, but I think the only fancied one has come in. I mean, Ado's been here all carnival with that horse and improved it more and more. In fact, the farther the carnival went, the more bullish he got. He really was, you know, in great form with this horse tonight. And look, it worked out. And the plan comes together. It's fantastic. But yeah, we have been a little bit down in numbers, which is disappointing, especially from some of the we'll say the bigger, more powerful yards. But look, that's the way it goes. Some years they get them here in droves, and some they don't.
So 8th win here in the UAE for RRR Racing, Sheikh Rashid's operation. Bupat Seemar now on 47 for his first season with a licence in his own name after, of course, many years as assistant to Satish. And this is Mr. Timothy Kelly, the Executive Vice President and Managing Director of Atlantis Dubai. 3 O'Shea's. Debbie, not a fan of the limelight, Sir Tig?
No, I don't think she quite likes the boys going up there either, but no, she's kind of behind the scenes, and they always say, you know, behind a great man there's a great woman, and like Debbie, you know, she's probably Tig's biggest supporter as well, along with the kids, you know. She's right behind him all the way, but you'll never see her out in the limelight. But I'm sure she's a big grin on her face and probably a nice glass of champagne right now.
And when you won this race, you were good enough to join us on air after, which we fully expected you not to, and I still thank you for it. How long did it take to sort of sink in? Will Tig just be in a complete bubble right now and not really know what's going on?
I think it's... yeah, I mean, he's obviously got rides coming up, so you know, obviously got remorse in the big race, so it'll be, you know, he'll be on such a high right now, and it always seems to take a little bit of time, you know. You're still sort of, you know, even weeks afterwards that we'd actually, when I won on Ronaldo, was you're kind of pinching yourself, did the night happen, and you then reflect on, should I have done things differently, should I have celebrated a little more, should I have been a bit more